Next on Worcester News Tonight, could wireless internet be harmful to your child's health? A panel of experts weighs in. Plus, President Trump signs a proclamation officially granting recognition of the Golan Heights as Israeli territory. We have local reaction. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. Monday, nonprofit Wireless Education hosts a panel on the impacts of Wi-Fi in schools. The organization says exposing young students to constant radiation over the course of a school day could pose a threat to their health. But it isn't just young children. Constant exposure can be a risk to all. Our Cam Jandro's live in Worcester tonight with the details. Cam?
Anna, if you have an iPhone, you can go into your settings, click General, scroll down to About, and then if you click Legal at the very bottom of that list, you'll see a selection here. It's called RF exposure. If you click that, the iPhone will tell you just about how much exposure you could receive from this phone. Now, the phone isn't just the issue. It's also Wi-Fi from computers and tablets. And the main concern here is children, what they're facing every day while they're sitting in classrooms at school. Phones, computers, tablets, they all use wireless technology. This is a concern for some, like Cece Doucette, a technology safety educator.
Data goes back and forth using microwave radiation, and although it's low level, non-thermal, the science now shows that is very biologically active.
Doucette was a panelist in Shrewsbury Monday, discussing the risks younger students face when they are constantly around Wi-Fi. She says exposing students to high-density radiation for 6 to 7 hours a day is a threat to their health.
Children are more vulnerable than even you and I. Their brains have a higher water content, their skulls are thinner, and their central nervous system is still developing, their immune system.
Parents packed the Shrewsbury Public Library to ask questions and share their concerns. Kati Hazrati drove from Concord, Massachusetts for the presentation.
I have kids and they go to schools, and I found out that there's no guidelines on Wi-Fi use or any other equipment use in schools. So I'm a little bit worried about it.
Hazrati says she can find a Wi-Fi signal almost anywhere, which is why she wants potential health impacts to be studied.
People would talk about smoking years ago and it was not a problem. We need to have the data, we need to have the measurements of the RF radio frequencies in schools.
Doucette helped the town of Ashland become the first in the United States to adopt the best practices for mobile devices. The guidelines limit device and Wi-Fi use to only when necessary in schools. She is now sharing it with cities and towns across the state.
And the message is not no technology, it's safe technology.
Now, Doucette says if you're concerned about Wi-Fi causing any danger, hardwire things with Ethernet cables. Plug them directly into the wall as opposed to using a Wi-Fi router or something like that. She says she's done that across her entire home. Live in Worcester tonight, I'm Cam Jandro, Worcester News Tonight.
A family counselor in Worcester is stressing the importance of getting help following devastating news out of Parkland, Florida and Newtown, Connecticut. Both communities mourning the loss of community members to suicide. Within the last week, 2 Stoneman Douglas High School students who survived the shooting in February of 2018 took their own lives. Monday, Jeremy Richmond, father of Sandy Hook victim Avielle Richmond, died of an apparent suicide. Dana Kennedy of Children's Friend in Worcester says one of the characteristics after a trauma like this is survivor's guilt. She says they work to try and change the distortion.
Question their over-responsibility for what happened, to look at that, kind of examine and challenge it, to see if they can come to a more neutral conclusion about it, so they would reduce their over-responsibility and guilt.
Kennedy says if you need someone to talk to about suicide, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. It's staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Concerned parents and Worcester Public School officials gathered at Nelson Place School Monday night to discuss the school budget. The Worcester School Committee, Education Association of Worcester, and Worcester Education Collaborative hosted the community conversation to let people know they're not satisfied with the current budget. They hope state lawmakers will pass the newly reformed Promise Act so the Worcester Public Schools will be fully funded.
Issue. As you can see, the Worcester Public Schools is underfunded by about $95 million every year, and so we haven't got much of an increase since 2002. In fact, some of the programs we pay less for than what we did back in 2002. So it's an issue, it's an important issue, and I think we need to make sure that education is funded to the proper limit where it should be.
The idea of using money from cannabis was brought up during the meeting. Mayor Petty says the city already puts money from cannabis into Recreation Worcester and other after-school activities. President Donald Trump signing a proclamation Monday, officially granting recognition of the Golan Heights as Israeli territory. The executive director of the Jewish Federation of Central Massachusetts is currently in Washington, D.C. for an American-Israel Public Affairs Committee conference. Stephen Schimmel says if you look at the Golan Heights strategically, it's important for Israel's safety because it's high ground and its location between Syria and Israel. Schimmel says there's a lack of understanding about the Arab-Israeli conflict in general. And for the average Israeli, the focus is more on their day-to-day life and how the conflict is actually playing out.
The Golan Heights, for most people, the truth is it's off their radar. The generals, the security experts, the strategists probably have a very different perspective, and I think that many of them, although I haven't seen many quotes, I think many of them welcome this move.
The proclamation reverses more than a half a century of U.S. policy in the Middle East. A Southbridge man has died following a head-on collision in Dudley. The accident happened Sunday morning on Route 131. According to police, 22-year-old Quinn Paul passed away at UMass Memorial Medical Center. The driver of the other vehicle is still at the hospital, but did not suffer life-threatening injuries. The drivers were the sole occupants of each vehicle. The cause of the crash is under investigation. Quinsigamond Community College hosts a town hall event with local legislators to discuss sexual violence on college campuses. The Sexual Misconduct Climate Survey Bill and the Campus Sexual Violence Bill are up for discussion in the House and Senate. Monday, students and faculty gave their suggestions. Our Brittany Schaefer has the story.
We at the community college let the legislators know that it's happening to us.
Quinsigamond Community College hosts a discussion about sexual violence. Student Government Association President Stephanie Texera says sexual assault happens everywhere and impacts non-residential campuses.
I was assaulted while I was a student, but not on campus. And that is one of the reasons why I think that it is so important to include community colleges in the conversation, because there's such an emotional and a mental drain on us.
Currently, there are multiple sexual violence bills in the House and Senate. One requires colleges to conduct a climate survey to better understand the prevalence of sexual violence on their campus.
Massachusetts has been at the forefront of so many issues with education, and to be really leading the charge, highlighting sexual violence at this kind of level and to be so detailed in it is so important and is going to set the statute for the rest of the country.
State Representative Jim O'Day and Senator Harriet Chandler were gathering input from students.
I have some ideas.
Please.
O'Day is working on a bill called the Healthy Youth Act. He says if the next generation learns about consent at a young age, it will decrease sexual violence.
So it's around trying to socially have people treat one another with a lot more respect. And again, that comes from learning a good behavior.
Is the basis of it. You don't get healthy youth in college if you haven't given them the opportunity in elementary school.
Texera is supporting the bills. She will be at the State House next month for the Joint Committee on Higher Education meeting.
I will be there, along with hopefully many other people from across the state, testifying in support of these bills.
Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.
A live demonstration at the Worcester Fire Department shows how quickly a fire can spread. It also shows a life-saving tool firefighters recommend everyone install in their home. Our Rosalind Flaherty has those details.
In just under 3 minutes, this living room is fully engulfed in flames.
If we get caught in a flashover, we have about 3 to 5 seconds to get out of the room. If you don't have any gear on, it's not survivable.
A demonstration at the Worcester Fire Department shows the damage a fire can cause. The room on the left had a sprinkler system, the one on the right did not. The State Fire Marshal's office and city firefighters want people to see the difference.
Really drives home the fact that fire moves fast, and with today's synthetic materials, fires have a good hold on a structure very quickly.
The living room with the sprinkler system contains the fire in a little more than a minute. It allows people to get out and makes it safer for firefighters.
As opposed to the fire hoses, which are about 150 to 200 gallons a minute, the fire sprinkler head only discharges 15 to 30 gallons a minute, so the water damage is considerably less.
Worcester Fire Chief Michael Lavoie says if you renovate a 3-decker in Worcester, you have to put in a sprinkler system. Since 2017, the department responded to 8 fires at buildings with sprinklers. Chief Lavoie says they did their job.
Most of the people that live there got to move back into their homes. Usually they have to spend weeks and weeks and weeks at a hotel or with family and friends. It really makes a difference.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
The Worcester County St. Patrick's Parade was held this Sunday, and organizers say it was a success. The 50-degree weather brought thousands to Park Avenue for the Irish festivities. The parade is the city's largest event of the year. It was postponed for only the second time in its history, but parade committee members say it was all worth it, and a later date is something they're now considering.
I was glad when the last thing went by me so I could go home and go to bed.
I was awestruck. I truly was awestruck with the crowd. It was amazing, the amount of people that came yesterday.
We've already had calls on make it permanent. After the later in March to go, the better off the weather's going to be. We might think about that. Historically, we've always done it on the Sunday before, but this seemed to be so nice.
It was a great day. Yeah, I am not disappointed that we canceled the parade or postponed the parade and moved it onto the 24th. I thought it was a great decision for everybody, safe for everybody, and didn't we have a great day?
Now, if you missed the parade, you can catch a replay here on Charter TV 3 on Sunday at noon and 7 p.m.